Most people think they are doing the right thing. You wake up, you push back breakfast, maybe you skip lunch entirely to save a few calories, or perhaps you just aren't hungry. It feels like control. It feels like discipline. You see the scale stay the same, or worse, climb, and you think, I just need to cut back more. But here is the hard reality that the diet industry and modern fitness trends won't tell you. For the body of a man or woman over 60, that approach isn't discipline. It is a biological SOS signal. You think you are teaching your body to burn stored fat. In reality, you are teaching it to hold on to every single ounce of fat it has, while simultaneously breaking down your lean muscle mass for fuel. I see this in my office every single week. Patients come to me frustrated, feeling tired, brain-fogged, and wondering why their metabolism feels broken, despite how hard they are trying to restrict themselves. They are working harder, but they are getting results that make them feel worse. If you are currently skipping meals, believing it is the secret to weight loss, I need you to listen closely. The math that worked in your 30 seconds or 40 seconds does not work in your 60 seconds, 70 seconds, and beyond. Your body has shifted. It is now prioritizing survival over everything else. When you starve it, your body doesn't panic and burn fat. It panics and burns muscle. And in the world of healthy aging, muscle is your metabolic currency. Without it, your metabolism slows, your joints ache, and that stubborn weight, it doesn't go anywhere. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how this metabolic trap works. We aren't going to talk about dieting. We are going to talk about metabolic longevity, how to feed your body in a way that fuels your independence, clears that afternoon brain fog, and actually helps you shed the weight that you've been fighting for years. This isn't about being skinny. This is about staying strong, capable, and vibrant. If you've been punishing yourself with missed meals, stop right now. We are going to flip the script, and I promise you are going to feel the difference faster than you think. Let's get into exactly why your metabolism has been fighting you, and how to change it today. To understand why skipping meals backfires, you have to look at your body not as a bank account where you deposit and withdraw calories, but as an ancient, highly intelligent survival system. When you go long stretches without food, skipping breakfast or pushing lunch later and later, your body doesn't know you are on a diet. It doesn't recognize your intention to lose weight. It only recognizes a crisis. It perceives a famine. In this survival mode, your body makes a calculated trade-off. It prioritizes the preservation of fat stores at all costs. Why? Because from an evolutionary perspective, fat is the ultimate backup generator for a famine. It is energy held in reserve for a worst-case scenario. Instead of burning that fat, your body identifies a much easier, more accessible fuel source, your muscle tissue. Your body begins to break down muscle fibers to convert them into glucose to keep your brain and heart running. This process is the exact opposite of what you want. You are stripping away the very tissue that determines your metabolic speed, your strength, and your balance. This is why you don't feel light or energized when you skip meals. You feel flat. You feel mentally foggy. You feel that mid-afternoon crash where you just want to sit down and stop moving. That isn't just hunger, that is the internal signal that your body is cannibalizing its own structural integrity, just to keep the lights on for the next few hours. But here is the irony that keeps most people trapped in this cycle. This starvation phase actually trains your metabolism to slow down further. When your body realizes it's not getting regular fuel, it lowers your resting metabolic rate. It becomes incredibly efficient at holding on to every single calorie you do eventually eat, because it expects the next famine to be just around the corner. It's a defensive posture. You are effectively telling your body, we aren't safe, and your body responds by battening down the hatches. But there is a specific type of tissue loss that happens here, especially after age 60, that makes this much more dangerous than just feeling tired. It's the silent decline of your functional independence, and if you don't understand how to stop this breakdown, you end up in a cycle that makes weight loss nearly impossible. Let's look at exactly how that happens and, more importantly, how we stop it. This muscle breakdown I just described has a formal name that you might have heard in medical circles: sarcopenia. Simply put, It is the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. Think of your muscle tissue as your body's metabolic engine. When you were younger, you had a high-performance, large displacement engine. It didn't matter as much if you skipped a meal here or there because your engine was constantly burning fuel, just idling at a high rate. But as we hit our 60 seconds and 70 seconds, our natural tendency is to lose a bit of that muscle mass every year. This is a normal part of aging, but it creates a dangerous vulnerability. If you combine that natural decline with a habit of skipping meals, you aren't just letting your engine idle. You are essentially taking parts out of it. When you don't have enough muscle, your metabolic rate drops like a stone. That means even if you are eating what you consider to be not much food, your body doesn't need that energy to function. You have lowered your requirements, so the calories you do eat, even healthy ones, are far more likely to be stored as fat rather than used for immediate energy. It's a vicious cycle. You lose muscle, your metabolism slows, you gain fat, and because you have more fat and less muscle, you feel heavier and less inclined to move, which causes you to lose more muscle. Quick favor before we go any further. Drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. When I see where people are watching from, it helps me tailor the advice to the environments and lifestyles you're actually living in, and I do read every single one of them. Now stay with me, because what I'm about to show you next is the specific biological switch that turns muscle breakdown on or off, and it's something most people get completely wrong. You see, muscle is not just there for lifting grandkids or gardening, it is an active metabolic organ. It is constantly taxing your energy reserves, keeping your blood sugar steady, and ensuring that when you eat a meal, the energy goes to your cells, not to your waistline. When you skip a meal, you are denying your muscles the amino acids they need to stay strong. Your body then makes the executive decision to pull those nutrients from your legs, your arms, and your back. You are literally dismantling your strength to survive the afternoon, and that is a trade you cannot afford to make. But here is the good news. You are not destined to be stuck in this cycle. We can flip this biological switch. But to do it, you have to stop thinking about calories and start thinking about structural support. I know it is tempting to just trust your gut when it comes to hunger. But when we look at the hard clinical evidence regarding how our bodies process fuel after 60, the eat less, lose more theory falls apart completely. A compelling study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition looked specifically at how protein distribution affects muscle health in older adults. Researchers wanted to know, does it matter if you eat all your protein in one big meal at dinner, or if you spread it out throughout the day? What they found was a game changer for anyone trying to maintain their metabolism. The participants who distributed their protein intake evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner had significantly higher rates of muscle protein synthesis, which is just a fancy way of saying their bodies were actively building and repairing muscle tissue, compared to those who ate most of their protein at night or skipped meals during the day. Think of it this way. Your body doesn't store protein the way it stores fat. It doesn't have a big warehouse where it keeps amino acids waiting to be used. It treats protein like a delivery that needs to be processed now. If you skip breakfast, you miss a delivery. If you skip lunch, you miss another one. By the time you get to dinner, your body is playing catch-up. It's starving for those building blocks, but it can only process so much at one time. Any excess protein you eat in that one big dinner that your body can't use immediately isn't helping your muscles. It's being converted or stored. This research proves that protein pacing, spreading your fuel across the day, is the most effective way to keep your metabolic engine running. It keeps your blood sugar levels from swinging wildly, which prevents that afternoon energy crash, and it ensures that your body has the raw materials it needs to repair muscle tissue 24/7. When you ignore this and you continue to rely on the famine approach of skipping meals, you aren't just hungry. You are structurally starving your body of the very tools it needs to remain firm, strong, and metabolically active. It's like trying to build a brick wall by throwing all the bricks at it once in the evening, instead of laying them one by one throughout the day. It doesn't work, and you end up with a pile of rubble instead of a solid structure. This isn't about eating more calories, it's about timing your intake so your body actually uses what you give it. But here is where I get the biggest objection when I explain this to my patients. I hear it every day. Doctor, I hear you, but I'm just not hungry in the morning. If I don't feel hungry, why should I force myself to eat? It is a fair question. We've been told our whole lives to listen to our bodies. But here is the problem. As we age, the hormonal signals that tell us when to eat and when we've had enough, specifically hormones like ghrelin and leptin, can become, well, a bit unreliable. They lose their sharpness. Think of it like the dashboard in your car. Your hunger signals are like your fuel gauge. When you're 25, that gauge is hypersensitive. The second you get low on energy, a light flashes and you feel that pang of hunger. But after 60, that gauge can start to glitch. It might be pointing to full when you are actually running on empty. Not feeling hungry does not mean your body doesn't need fuel. It just means the signal isn't getting through clearly. And when you wait for that "I'm starving" signal to appear, you've already waited too long. You've already put your body into that defensive survival mode I talked about earlier. I want you to stop relying on feeling hungry as your guide for when to eat. Instead, start relying on a schedule. You don't wait for your car to run out of gas on the side of the road before you fill it up, do you? You keep the tank topped off so you can get where you need to go. Your body needs that same level of care. You have to feed your metabolism on a schedule, not just when your appetite decides to wake up. So how do we fix this without turning your life into a math project? You don't need to count every single calorie, and you definitely don't need to buy expensive shakes. We are moving from a deprivation mindset to a construction mindset. You are essentially shifting from being a dieter to being an architect of your own metabolism. Here is your daily protocol. It starts with one golden rule: the protein anchor. Every time you eat, I want you to look at your plate and ask one simple question: where is my protein? Protein is the building block for that muscle we are trying to save. Whether it's eggs for breakfast, a piece of chicken or fish for lunch, or even Greek yogurt or beans, your protein is your anchor. It stabilizes your blood sugar, which stops the energy spikes and crashes that usually leave you reaching for a sugary snack at 3 p.m. If you skip the protein, you're just eating fuel that will burn off in an hour, leaving you hungry again. If you include the protein, you are giving your body the signal to stabilize and repair. Next is the plate layout. This is the easiest way to ensure you are getting what you need without a calculator. Imagine your dinner plate. One half of that plate should be colorful vegetables. The fiber and nutrients there keep your digestion moving and your gut happy. 1/4 is your protein anchor. The final quarter is for healthy, whole food carbohydrates, like a small sweet potato or a serving of quinoa or brown rice. This structure works because it keeps your blood sugar flat. When your blood sugar stays flat, your insulin levels stay low. And when insulin is low, your body is much more likely to burn its own fat stores for energy rather than hoarding them. It's simple, it's visual, and it's effective. But here is a rehook for you. Most people assume that by eating this way they'll gain weight because they are eating more. But remember, if you have been skipping meals, your metabolism is currently functioning at a low-power famine setting. When you start feeding it correctly, you aren't just adding calories. You are turning the engine back on. You'll feel more energy, you'll move more naturally throughout the day, and that increased movement, even just walking around the house or tending to the garden, burns more fat than any strict diet ever could. Finally, hydration is your hidden metabolic tool. I don't mean drinking a gallon of water at once, which just makes you uncomfortable. I mean consistent, steady hydration. Your cells need water to process protein and convert fat into energy. If you are even slightly dehydrated, that whole process slows down. Keep a glass near you. Sip it throughout the morning and afternoon. When you feel that urge to reach for a cookie or a snack, pause. Drink a glass of water first. Often, the brain misinterprets the mild dehydration that sets in around mid-morning or mid-afternoon as hunger. If you're still hungry after the water, have your protein-based snack. But often, the craving just fades because it wasn't hunger. It was just your body asking for the hydration it needed to keep working. I know what some of you are thinking. Doctor, this sounds great in theory, but my life isn't a lab experiment. I travel. I go to dinners with friends. I have days where I'm just too tired to cook. And you are absolutely right. The biggest mistake people make when they try to fix their metabolism is trying to be perfect. They think that if they can't eat a perfectly prepared, protein-balanced meal every single time, they might as well just skip the meal entirely and wait until they get home. But I want you to remember, consistency beats perfection every single time. It is far better to have a good enough meal on the go than to skip it and send your body into that famine response survival mode we talked about. Let's talk about emergency fuel. If you are leaving the house for the day, or you know you have a busy afternoon, don't leave your metabolism to chance. Keep simple, high-protein snacks on hand that don't require any prep at all. I'm talking about things like a small container of Greek yogurt, a hard-boiled egg, or a handful of almonds. These are your safety net. If you feel that midday slump creeping in, you have something ready that keeps your blood sugar stable until you can get to a real meal. When you are eating out, you don't need to be the person who ruins the table's mood by obsessing over the menu. You just need to follow the protein anchor rule. Look for the protein first: the fish, the chicken, the steak, or the beans. Make that the star of your plate. If the restaurant serves a giant portion of pasta or potatoes, it's okay to eat some, but just ensure the protein is the first thing you focus on. You don't have to clean your plate. In fact, if you prioritize the protein, you'll often find you aren't even interested in finishing that mountain of starch, which is a natural way to control your intake without feeling restricted. And here is a secret that most people get wrong about cheating on their nutrition. You aren't a robot, and you shouldn't be eating like one. If you go to a birthday party and have a slice of cake, your metabolism isn't going to collapse. It's the chronic day-in and day-out habit of skipping meals that does the damage. One meal won't make you or break you. It's what you do 90% of the time that dictates your health. When you stop viewing your food choices as good or bad and start viewing them as fuel or lack of fuel, the guilt disappears. You stop punishing yourself for being human, and you start making choices that actually serve your longevity. You aren't dieting anymore. You're just looking after the most important vehicle you'll ever own: your body. At the end of the day, this isn't just about what the scale says. It's about you. It's about being able to walk through your day with energy, to garden, to travel, to play with your grandkids, and to feel like yourself, without your body acting like a weight that's dragging you down. You have spent years believing the myth that less is more when it comes to food. But you have seen the biology today. Less isn't more. Less is just less. It's less muscle, less metabolic freedom, and less energy to do the things you love. Stop looking for the next restrictive diet or the next miracle pill. Your body doesn't need to be punished, it needs to be supported. When you start honoring your body's need for fuel, you aren't just changing your metabolism, you are protecting your independence. You are building a stronger, more resilient version of yourself that can handle the years ahead with vitality rather than just trying to get by. This starts tomorrow morning. Don't overcomplicate it. Just anchor your protein, stay hydrated, and eat on a schedule. Your metabolism is a use it or lose it system, and starting tomorrow, you are officially in the business of using it. If you found value in this breakdown and want to keep learning how to navigate your health without the fluff and the fads, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I post new, practical health content every single week designed specifically for those of us who want to stay active and capable well into our later years. Thank you for trusting me with your time today. Remember, you aren't dieting, you are fueling. And that makes all the difference in the world. I'll see you in the next one.